You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
Hi and welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. I am your host, Jackie DeCampo. This podcast's sole focus is to interview busy mums and sometimes dads that usually have a business or at the very least a bustling side hustle. We cover areas like why they got into business in the first place, what their greatest lessons are or fear is, and how to overcome that. We talk all things marketing, advertising, systems, processes, cash flow, which is my favorite part, whether they have a product-based business or a service-based business, and all things related to business. And also, we talk about how they manage it with a family life as well. A little bit about me. I'm 38 years old, married to Ben DeCampo. We have 2 daughters. I am a co-founder of Milkman Grooming Co. I host this podcast and I am a mad keen gardener. If you want to share your story, please reach out, or if you're interested in sponsoring an episode, again, please reach out. My packages are very reasonable. My email is thebusymumpodcast, that's M-U-M, podcast @gmail.com. Now let's dive into this bloody fantastic episode. Okay, Jayne, welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. How are you this morning?
Good, thanks, Jackie. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And I see that you're in Brisbane. So how's the weather up there?
It's been a really hot summer, and it's been hot up until about 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And now we're all happy to see like the jumpers and the jeans starting to come out. So yeah.
Here in Sydney, I think it was raining last week, and this week is still a little bit humid, and today's a little bit cooler. So we're getting into the low 20s now, that's kind of my jam. I like that kind of weather where you can wear the jeans and the top and stuff like that. So yeah, cool. So tell me a little bit about you, your business, and how you got started.
Okay, so I am a buyer's agent here in Brisbane. So I work on the buy side of real estate, helping people purchase property. I'm also a mum to 3 children, and that keeps me busy. But, so I got started. I used to work as an accountant in corporate organisations before kids. Mm-hmm. Had 3 children in 4 years. And when I went back to accounting, I just didn't feel the passion there anymore. And I think being away from your kids, I decided, no, if I'm going to work, I'm going to do exactly what I want. While I was on maternity leave, I saw a buyer's agent job come up on Seek, mm-hmm. and I just thought it sort of planted the seed for me to sort of be like, oh, that would be really great. Like, imagine doing that every day. It wouldn't even be like a job. So, so I think I just sort of had that seed planted early in my maternity leave, and just went, I'm going to do it. So, I sort of quit accounting and started my own business so I've been doing it now just over 14 months, so mm-hmm. It's still quite new. Yeah. There's been lots of different challenges starting your own business, but I'm really happy with what I'm doing now, and I just can't believe how far I've come in even 14 months of business.
Excellent. And I reckon your accounting background would really help in business, because if you've got your cash flow right and your financials right, that's kind of the main reason why we do what we do is to earn that income as well. So what is a buyer's agent? Can you give me the layman's terms for someone who doesn't really know what that is? What is it? What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so it's a relatively unknown service here in Australia. Mm-hmm. It's very popular over in the US. About 85% of people in the US use a buyer's agent. And essentially what it does is it just sort of takes that stress out of buying a house. So I'll just sit down and with clients and hear their briefs. It cuts out all of their searching, dealing with real estate agents. I've got a really good feel for pricing and what things are, because I'm constantly looking at properties, and so I can sort of hold their hand right through the negotiation on their behalf, bid at auction, and then sort of do all of the checks that are required on a property, and they get to purchase their home with a lot less stress and time. So that's what a buyer's agent does.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions around that. The first one is like a settlement agent. So that's different again to a buyer's agent, correct?
Do you mean like a conveyancer?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So the conveyancer is just like the legality part of the end of the property, like to sort of transfer the documents over and the title documents and the loan documents, like mortgages and things. So, yeah, that's completely different.
So and they take on a lot of risk, don't they, doing that job? Like, because if you stuff that up, that can be like massive ramifications, right?
So normally settlements are quite easy because they should be lawyers doing it. That's sort of their specialty. But, yes, you wouldn't want to stuff that up at the end of the day because, that's sort of the last step in the purchase process. So. And
as a buyer's agent, like, do you take on any risk? Because you said you're doing like the check, so I'm thinking about like the white ant check or a builder's check. Are you doing those kind of things? No, so I don't personally do that. I think I have a great team around me of people who I can sort of call on, and I would always recommend someone do their own building and pest checks, because we do have a lot of termites and things up here in Brisbane, and with the style of homes that we have being a lot of timber Queenslanders. So I definitely recommend and can arrange that for my clients. I also think when you sort of look at the number of properties I look at, like I'm not just ducking out on a Saturday looking at a couple here and there, you sort of start to realise like what things are, and even attending those building and pests, you get more information and experience. So, you sort of can raise some flags to people before those checks, but always getting a professional in who specialises in it. When you're talking about like the money, like the amount of money people are spending and things, I just think, getting all of those checks is really important. Absolutely. So do you then in your business, have you got like checklists and templates? So like you see it, you meet with a client, you get their brief, and then you like give them some like direction on like, this is what I recommend we look at or do?
Yeah, so I initially will sit down with a client and I've got some probing questions into what they're looking for. I like to focus on both location and the lifestyle that a property can deliver for someone or a family, as well as then exactly what the house itself needs to be in terms of like the layout, the number of bedrooms, their preferred style of home. And then I create a checklist for them. I'll go into a property initially, and sort of have a look over. And then when I would be doing a second inspection and getting them to come through, I would use my checklist then. It's amazing what, a lovely styled property can sort of make you miss.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a laundry that you don't even know where the laundry is if you've purchased a home, or even like a double sink in the kitchen, or how big's the space for the fridge. It's easy when you sort of just spend 10 minutes at a property, you miss a lot of those sort of things. But when you know exactly what you're looking for, and I think as a mum as well, you sort of know what a family needs, and you can sort of pick these things quite quickly when you've got those checklists in place.
Yeah, beautiful. I know I've done that a few times, and I think our first property, it was like a townhouse, a front townhouse, and like you just we both got swept up by like the beauty of the house. That when we purchased it, we're like, oh, it's like the top part, because we're originally from Perth, the top part of the house was in that cladding. It wasn't insulated, and the house wasn't insulated. And like during the summer, oh my God, upstairs was almost not livable because it was so hot. So just things like that as well that you got to think of, that like when you're like in the honeymoon phase of looking at a property, you totally miss. And same like with gas points, gas bayonets, and like, if there's enough power points around, or, do they have skirting boards? I would like those, those kind of things as well. Now, you mentioned that the brokers industry is quite a young industry. Do you see that, not the brokers industry, the buyers industry is quite a young industry. Do you see that that's going to become a bigger thing in Australia or?
Yeah, I do. I think it's definitely growing. And I just think, as people become more aware of the service and, the security that it can deliver in purchasing your biggest asset, both financially, and I also just think where you live and things just impacts your life so much. I think that people will really reach out for more help. And also it really helps people time-wise with things as well. But I do see it as an increasing industry for people to use. And even after I've helped my clients and things, they just are like, we will never buy another property without sort of seeking these types of services. The listeners might not be aware, but the sales agent at an open home is contractually obliged to work for the seller and to achieve the highest price. So you sort of always hear buyers saying, the sales agent didn't do the right thing by me. They're actually not really meant to be acting in the buyer's interest. And I think once a buyer has sort of worked with a buyer's agent and realises, wow, they're really looking out for my interests, they can see the amazing benefits that the service provides.
Yeah. And how do you charge for that? Do you charge like a weekly amount or a percentage of the property, or how are you getting remunerated?
Yeah, so I charge my buyer, and I think that the Royal Commission and things that have come out, I think when you're only taking money from the person that you're acting in the interest of, you'll be able to always keep it quite simple with your advice and things to those people. So I charge, there's a few different, but some buyers agents charge differently. I charge sort of a flat fee initially up front, which is a percentage of sort of their initial budget. And so it's sort of agreed. And I take a 30% retainer. And then on settlement, so once everything is done and we are guaranteed that that property is there, then I charge the additional 70% of the fee. So I think that some other people just charge a percentage of the purchase price and things like that. But it's agreed sort of initially up front, so with my clients.
So, and if they don't go ahead with purchasing any property, do you then keep that 30% as a retainer? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the 30% is non-refundable for me anyway. So it sort of just covers the time and efforts and things that I would have put into their search.
Yeah, because how many hours would you put into a particular client? Would it be 20 hours or 100 hours over a period of 3 months? Because buying a property can take a long time. Yeah,
so I don't really ever guarantee that we'll find it, in the first week or in the first month. I just guarantee that I will keep searching until they feel it's the right property. We know it's the right property. I've signed up clients at 4:00 one afternoon on a Monday and shown them an ideal property the next morning because I'd actually been doing a bit of work beforehand for them.
That's great.
But, in saying that, there's other clients that, are sort of 3 or 4 months in, but their brief's very specific. So I just think that I don't sort of guarantee any sort of time frames or how many hours it's going to take me. It's just we get the result that they want, and that's the right house for them. So, yeah.
Yes, I can imagine the types of people you get. They go, yep, and then other ones that would just be like, oh, I want it like this, and I want the taps this way, and I want it in these 3 streets, please. Just only properties in these 3 streets.
Well, I think sometimes people don't actually know what they want. So part of my job is decoding those things, and sometimes it's the little things that they sort of drop in a conversation that you're like, that's actually a big deal to you. So it's sort of, there's a bit of psychology around purchasing a house too. So it's
absolutely.
Very interesting.
Yes, I can imagine. Now, I did accidentally mention the brokers industry. Now, I want to just touch on this because hasn't there been some major changes in the brokers industry for finance?
Yes.
Do you want to give me your views on that and what's happening in Australia at the moment? Because I know a few people that were brokers to get loans through, but I think that industry now has been like abolished from Australia.
Yeah. So there was the Royal Commission that came out recently, and it looked into the whole financial industry, and brokers were one part of that. And I think, like I sort of touched on before, when people are charging fees or collecting fees from anyone but the client, it can create a culture that is, questionable in that space. I think that there is a need for brokers because they sort of open, if you go to a broker, they have a number of banks and lending institutions that they might be able to steer their clients towards. The Royal Commission or what happens actually at the moment is that those institutions pay the broker. So there can be some...
Who pays the most gets the most loans?
Yeah, or, you might sort of be pushing someone towards that, which isn't very ethical. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of going towards a model now where the client will be paying the mortgage broker a fee. And, like I said before, I think that is actually the best way because when people are just collecting money, they can act in that person's best interests. And I do think the variety of lenders that a mortgage broker can provide someone is a great thing because if you had to go to individual banks and sort of talk to everyone, you would probably not be able to get the breadth that a broker can. So I think that industry has got its challenges in the future, but I think people who are doing the right thing will thrive as others won't. So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Well, let's move on to the apps that you use in business. What can't you live without?
Oh, look, I can't live without realestate.com, but I think that's a lot of people in Australia.
That's a good website, that one. They did well with that.
I don't use a lot of apps, I suppose. I use a lot of databases like CoreLogic and things daily. Mm-hmm. And when searching for property here in Brisbane, there's other things like flood maps. I'm a big person for school catchments and future school catchments and understanding the council's infrastructure and all of those types of things. But in terms of business apps, I'm still sort of getting to the stage in my business where I need to start implementing more of those. So, and like any small business, I suppose social media apps are another one that I use a lot.
So do you have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and do you do some Facebook lives and stuff like that about, I'm going through this property now, check out this, you should really look at this particular thing when you're buying a property? Yeah. So I probably am mainly on Instagram for my social media. When I started out a year ago, I've just found it really hard to get the traction on Facebook. The algorithms, I think, seem hard for businesses at the moment who weren't established 2 or 3 years ago. So Instagram really seems to be the platform that's improving and thriving for me at the moment. I do a lot of stories. I haven't got to lives yet, but... Scary.
They're coming. I just need to get that confidence, I suppose.
We do, my husband and I watch this guy. He's in New York, and he's a New York real estate agent, and he does a YouTube channel of his life, and he shows you around all of the apartment blocks that he's responsible for and stuff like that. And it's quite interesting because we don't have that lifestyle here. And I think it's good to kind of get your personal branding out there. It's 2019 is the year of the personal branding, I think. So. Yeah. No, I definitely am trying, and I have done a few home tours and that, but I think I just truly love property, and I think sometimes I think things are interesting and I'm not sure if anyone else is that interested. I think Australia loves property. They do. We are a big property-centred asset hub, really, at the end of the day. Look, we've got The Block, and we've got a couple of other shows that have done really well on TV over the last 10 or 12 years, I think, that have come out from property booms and stuff. So yeah. I reckon that a lot of people would be interested in what you're interested in, to be honest. Like, I've got friends that look at realestate.com without, like, even looking to buy. They're just like, what's around there? Just what's going on, you know? So
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
That would be.
So what do you specialise in? Like, so you're a buyer's agent, but, like, what is your target market? What are you specialising in? Is it the corporate single whatever, or is it the families? And you did mention schools before, so let's just go a little bit deep into that.
Yeah, so I would say that I specialise in the owner-occupier space, and particularly in the family homes, and normally where the parents are both working and then they have children, and on weekends they want to do the Saturday sports or not be bothered by this whole process. So normally they're like busy professional families. Sometimes they'll be relocating to Brisbane, and I think that that's really great, because being a mum and knowing all of the schools and things around, I've got a really good insight into sort of what suburbs can offer different families and different lifestyles. And so, you know, if you're a family who likes to go for walks or coffee shops, or, you know, you need to be near the netball courts and things, I can definitely help families work that out their way through Brisbane. So, yeah, I would say that that's what I specialise in. Some buyers agents specialise in investments, and they might even just buy throughout Australia. They might not just specialise in the area that they are. But for me, I sort of keep within 10 kilometres of the Brisbane CBD.
Okay.
As my areas. So, yeah.
Okay. And what are the hot areas for 2019? Like, what are the top 3 that you think for families are?
Oh, look, I
put you on the spot there, sorry.
No, you're fine. I think that there's lots of great spots in Brisbane, and, like, it's different for different budgets. People would say, you know, there's different hot spots, and it depends, like, if you're looking for major growth or just easy commutes and great schools. There's a few sort of suburbs that I just don't think you can go wrong in if you're sort of looking to move to Brisbane. And I'd sort of say that it would be like Balimba Hawthorn. You're not going to be unhappy there if you can. and this is the thing, like, these are probably the more expensive suburbs. Ashgrove Barton, always great performers, just solid family suburbs. And if, you know, I think I could talk about them all. Wilston Grange, also, yeah, great suburbs, and Auchenflower Milton has always been strong too. But there's so many. And do I think that they're the biggest growth suburbs? Possibly not. I think you might have to go sort of somewhere that's a little bit more untapped if you're looking for that. So,
okay, yeah. Cool. And where do you go to get your business information, and why? I know you look at realestate.com.au, but in terms of, like, because they always say working in your business is different to working on your business.
Yes.
So where do you go to get your business information? You've got quite a few bullet points here, so...
Yes. So I think starting out, there's so much information out there for someone who wants to start out. And I think podcasts are a fantastic way to get some of that information. I would also just say, there's a lot of workshops out there and things for you to attend that you can take some real gems of information away. I would also say, look into, like, your friend groups, because quite often they're great sources of information just to sit down and nut out with over a coffee, and it's a really cheap way. And I think if you've got, you know, a good circle of friends who are really supportive and, you know, can say, this is working for me on social media, or I've had great success with SEO using these sort of things, I think you can just learn a lot from the right people in your circles. Mm-hmm. And where else do I go for my...
You said your husband.
Oh, yeah. I think my husband's a really great... I should talk about him more, shouldn't I? He's just a great sounding board. Like, I think just a male perspective, but he's also in the corporate world himself. He can keep you focused. So quite often I'll be sending an email and he'll walk past and just be like, that is way too long. What are you trying to say? So they just bring a different perspective, and I think asking them sometimes is a great source of information.
Yeah, they're very good at just keeping it simple. Like, as women, I think we like to have, like, we overcomplicate stuff. You know,
Yes.
Really, we do. We can't help it. It's built in our DNA. So
Yeah, so he's been really good, and I try to look at what different industries outside of real estate are doing, and I always sort of seem to end up looking at more creative industries and things like that. I've always enjoyed like that entrepreneurial, creative side of some industries. So
that is a very good point that you've raised there, because when we look at our business, we always look at other industries and go, well, what are they doing? And can we bring that to what we're doing and make us, like, in our industry, maybe like the pioneers of that particular thing.
Yes.
So, because although it might be old hack in one industry, in another industry might be like, oh, this is a brand new idea. So if you're usually first to market with that, you can do quite well. Yeah.
Look, and in, I suppose, the real estate industry, which I am in, there's a lot of sales agents out there, and I'm not trying to replicate or be one of those. So I do have to differentiate and make sure I'm not sort of seen as someone on the sales side.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably all of the ones that I can say.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's fine. Let's move on to the next question. What is one area of your business you would like to improve, and why? And also, how are you proposing to do this? I mean, it's a very complicated question, and I stump a lot of people on this. Are like, okay. So, let's go with that one.
I think at this stage, like, being 14 months in, it's time to really put some like proper processes and procedures like CRMs and those into my business, because as you sort of grow, you can sort of manage it, but it's getting to the stage now where I've got to sort of probably chunk out some time to really sit down. And also I'm just big on my clients having the best client journey that I can deliver. So it's about now for me being able to manage that client journey to be a great one, while also working on my business and implementing things like CRMs and things. So I think for me, I've just got to be a little bit better at planning my weeks and chunking out times to sort of sit down and be like, okay, let's get that sort of project underway, because it is just me in the business. And just ensuring that my clients are always, it's very easy once we see like an ideal house and things, like I've just got to jump on that and run all of my sort of analysis in the background and checks in the background for that property. So it is very easy to get sidetracked and
So what I do, because I find that as well, we run a couple of different things on the side as well. I find that my Google Calendar, if I don't put it in there, it doesn't exist, and I've missed so many school assemblies and all those kid kind of things because I haven't put it in there. So as long as it's in my Google Calendar, I can look at like from on Sunday night, I can just have a quick look at what I've got ahead and go, okay, so it's going to be busy. And I've got to make sure. And then I check every night for the next day, because like band practice in the morning, can't forget that, because sometimes I wake up late and then it's like it's my fault that she's late for band practice and just things like that. Like, so it's totally out of a business perspective. But and also those standard processes, like honestly, you're not alone with that. There's people that have been in business for years that have no processes. You know? So I mean, getting those bedded down means that you can actually scale what you're doing as well, and maybe bring on new team members, which could be very exciting. Just saying. Okay, I've got some quick questions for you. You've added in a few actually, which is really cool. I love it. I might even just take them and put them on my template, so then I can ask future people these questions. Okay, so a bit of fun. Vampire or werewolf?
I'm neither. Sorry.
No. Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll move on. Netflix or Stan?
I would say Netflix only because I think that's what the kids watch more of.
Do you have both subscriptions?
Yes.
I did, but now I only have the Netflix, so I'm Netflix. Product-based business or service-based business?
I would say service-based business because that's what I'm in, so I focus more on that.
Now, your quick questions. Coffee or wine?
Coffee, definitely. Honestly, I wouldn't get through one day.
Yeah, well, if you had wine in the morning, you'd probably end up on the couch. Sand or snow holidays?
I would go sand. Like, I just love the heat, and it's so much easier just to pack like your bikini than all of that snow gear.
I don't wear bikinis, so my goodness. I probably go snow holiday, to be honest with you, because I wouldn't mind skiing again. I've done it once in my life, and it was really hard. Okay, you've got Marie Kondo or Super Nanny. If one had to turn up at your house and help out, which one would you choose?
Over that really long Christmas holidays, over the 7 weeks, I sort of got into Marie Kondo. And then, you know, those days where the kids are just driving you crazy. And so my mind goes into like, oh, imagine like if Marie Kondo turned up, and then like Super Nanny used to be so big, and I was like, oh, imagine if they both knocked on my door, it would be like winning.
That's funny. You do have a lot of time. Yeah, you've got time on your hands there. It sounds like
my mind goes. And so I was, having a debate with myself. But would I prefer like a really organised house or just super well-behaved kids? And I think either would be great because you could probably implement the other.
Yeah, I would say super behaved kids because then you get them to clean the house.
Yeah. Or can you have a clean house and then, you would have more time to focus on the kids?
I don't know which way.
I think
you could go anyway.
I think I'd go Marie Kondo.
Yeah, you would? No, see, I wouldn't. I'd go super behaved kids. But my kids aren't that bad. Like, I don't know. You know what? I would go house cleaner 3 days a week. That's what I would do. Yeah. Because I've already Marie Kondoed my own wardrobe. Like, it's all good.
Okay.
But the kids, no, I'm not doing theirs as well. That's too much work for me. I'm not the housekeeper. Anyway, Jayne, it's been a pleasure speaking to you this morning, and a lot of really, really good information there. And you've definitely educated me, and you're educating my listeners as well. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Jackie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Busy Mum podcast. Don't forget to let your friends know, and also subscribe to the iTunes channel. And also my socials if you want to see what I'm getting up to. A brand new episode is out every Monday morning, just like clockwork.